Okay, so in our last video, we looked at inserting functions in Excel in order to understand a distribution of numbers like age. Okay, and we put those at the bottom of our columns. And we're going to do something really similar in this video, but instead of trying to understand something about all of these players, we're going to kind of understand something about each of these players. So I know how many rebounds this person has per game, and I know how many minutes they play per game. And something that I might be interested in is, okay, if someone, say, gets a lot of rebounds, is that because they're just playing more minutes in a game than someone else? Or are they getting an unusual amount of rebounds per minute? Okay. And this is the kind of things that people in sports do all the time. So we're going to create what's called a ratio. And all I'm going to do is I'm going to divide rebounds per game by minutes per game. And that'll get me rebounds per minute. And then we can think about who gets more rebounds in a certain amount of time. Okay, so this is called a ratio. And it's when we divide one of our columns by another column in a way that makes sense. Okay, so if we were thinking about things that happen at apartment complexes, right? I might know that the police are called for noise complaints 10 times a year at a certain apartment complex. But really what I want to know is, okay, well, how many times are they called per year per unit? Or per 100 units? Because if it's a giant complex, we would expect there to be more noise complaints, right? Or if we're talking about something that happens on a college campus, right? Like maybe we're writing a story on hate crimes on college campuses. I might want to look at the total number of hate crimes, but it might also be more meaningful for me to think about the total number per 1,000 students or per student, right? That might give me a way of comparing really big schools to really little schools. Okay, so let's insert our function. Now, again, we're going to click on the cell that we want to insert our function, and I'm going to go ahead and give this a column header. So this is rebounds per minute, and ignore my typos. All right, so again, to insert a function, I'm going to click on the cell. I'm going to come to the function bar, and I'm going to hit equals to tell it that I'm making a function. Now, the function that I want here is rebounds divided by minutes per game. So all I'm going to do is click on rebounds to get that cell, type divided, click on that one, hit enter. Okay, so 0.09 rebounds per game. Now again, I can copy this formula here. I can also double click on the little solid green square and fill it down. Okay, so now I have rebounds per game or rebounds per minute for each player, and I might want to ask, okay, who gets the most rebounds per minute? So I'm going to click on my header here, and I'm going to come up here to sort and filter, and I'm going to sort largest to smallest. It's going to say, do you want to expand the selection? So basically, I'm going to start moving these rows around, and I want to move the whole row. I don't want to just move these, because if I just move these, my data gets all messed up. So basically, every time you are asked to do this, you want to expand the selection. And let's sort. So now we have, this is the player who gets the most rebounds per minute. And we can look in here and say, okay, this is a person who doesn't tend to play very many minutes, but he gets a lot of rebounds per game. So we can kind of start to understand what kind of players these are, right? This might be a specialty player. And so this is a really useful way to understand and kind of dig into our data and start comparing things. Like what's the greatest? What's the least? Where does this person fall here? In the next video, we'll start to do these same things, but we'll be using visualization to understand more deeply how these numbers are working and helping us to compare different players.